On a quiet afternoon, Dina, a waitress at a small café, expected nothing more than an ordinary shift. However, what happened next, a simple tip and a handwritten note, deeply moved her and quickly spread across the country as an example of kindness. The aroma of fresh coffee and baked pastries lingered in the air. The afternoon hustle, once lively, had quieted down, with conversations softening into murmurs. Dina, exhausted from hours on her feet, glanced at the clock. 1 more hour until the end of my shift, she thought. Her bills were tight, with the rent due in 2 days and her phone bill still unpaid. The tips that day had been small, mostly coins tossed hastily by customers who were distracted by their phones. Dina sighed, pulled her hair into a tighter ponytail, grabbed her order pad, and glanced at her manager. The older woman, tired-eyed, gave her a silent look of encouragement. Dina was already operating on autopilot. Then, the bell above the door jingled, snapping her out of her thoughts. A young man entered, tall, lean, dressed simply yet polished. He was followed closely by 2 men, their eyes scanning every corner of the cafe. This wasn't the type of customer Dina was used to. A celebrity, with bodyguards and all, was unheard of in a place like this. Dina froze momentarily, her pen hovering over the pad. She quickly shook it off and approached the table where the young man had seated himself. "Good afternoon, can I bring you something to start with?" she asked, forcing her best smile. The young man looked up at her, and for a moment, Dina forgot her words. His face was striking yet familiar, calm and confident. Then it clicked, Barron Trump, the youngest son of the former president. Dina's heart raced, but she kept her composure. This was just another customer. "I'll have a cappuccino, please," he said softly. "And maybe one of those croissants." "Of course, anything else?" Dina asked. He shook his head. "That'll be perfect, thank you." Dina wrote down the order and turned to head back to the counter, trying to push aside the flutter of nervousness. Why was she acting like this? Barron Trump of all people. As she prepared his coffee, Dina couldn't help but glance back at the corner table. He sat quietly, his posture straight but not stiff. Unlike other patrons, he wasn't scrolling through his phone or typing on a laptop. Instead, he gazed out the window, as if lost in thought. Occasionally, he took a sip of water from the glass she had set down earlier. When the cappuccino and croissant were ready, Dina took a deep breath and carried the tray carefully to his table. "Here you go," she said, gently placing the cup and croissant in front of him. He looked up and smiled faintly. "Thank you." "You're welcome, let me know if you need anything else," she replied, keeping her tone polite but neutral. As Dina turned to head back to the counter, something made her pause. Perhaps it was the lingering feeling of his gaze, not intrusive, but just observant. Or maybe it was just her exhaustion making her self-conscious. Either way, her heart fluttered again, and she shook it off, returning to her tasks. Minutes passed, and Dina busied herself with cleaning empty tables and refilling sugar containers. The cafe grew quieter, with only the faint hum of background music filling the air. Yet, the atmosphere felt different. It was as though something unseen was urging her to pay attention. From the corner of her eye, she saw Barron pull a pen from his pocket. He leaned over the receipt and scribbled something quickly, almost as if he didn't want anyone to notice. He folded the paper neatly and tucked it beneath his empty coffee cup. Then, standing up, he gathered his phone and coat. Dina glanced at him for a moment, forcing herself to focus on her tasks. As he walked past her, she called out softly, "Thank you for coming." He turned slightly, offering a faint smile. "Have a good day." Those words lingered in the air longer than they should have. Dina stood frozen for a moment, watching him leave with his security detail trailing behind. The bell above the door jingled once more, and then silence settled over the room. Dina exhaled slowly, picked up her tray, and walked over to clear his table. The cappuccino cup was empty, with a small residue of foam clinging to the rim. The croissant plate was empty except for a few crumbs. And there it was, the receipt. She picked it up carefully, feeling the weight of the paper. Her first thought was that the tip might be generous, as wealthy customers often left large tips to make up for the lack of interaction. But as she unfolded the receipt, her breath caught in her chest. At the bottom, beneath the total, was a number, a tip so large it made her stomach drop. 4 crisp digits. Above it, written in neat handwriting, was a note. Your kindness and hard work don't go unnoticed. My family has been where you are. Stay strong, brighter days are coming. Dina's hands began to tremble as she reread the note, slower this time, letting every word sink in. Her eyes darted toward the door Barron had exited moments earlier, and her vision blurred as hot tears filled her eyes. Her knees felt weak, but for the first time all day, she smiled. Wow, you made it to the end of the video. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for sticking with us until the end. Your support means a lot to me. If you enjoyed the content and want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to stay updated. Every subscription helps a lot and motivates me to keep bringing amazing content to you. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.